This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is sponsored by Everplay Sports and Social Summer 2026 Adult Sports Leagues. Registering now through May 20th for kickball, softball, volleyball, pickleball, bowling, and more. Visit everplaysocial.com for details and registration. Do it now because these leagues will sell out. It's a great way to get off the couch and hang out with friends while doing enjoyable, fun activities. Again, visit everplaysocial.com and sign up today.
Hey, it's Zach from What the Pod Was That and the All About Nothing podcast. And America's birthday is coming up faster than we can track. Celebrate Independence Day in style with ZJZ Designs' latest t-shirt collection on TeePublic. Introducing 3 brand new 4th of July heart designs that perfectly capture the spirit of America. These shirts feature vibrant, patriotic colors and unique heart-shaped designs that stand out at any celebration. Whether you're heading to a fireworks show, a barbecue, or just enjoying the summer sun, our 4th of July heart collection has something for everyone. Show off your love for the red, white, and blue with ZJZ Design. Visit ZJZ Design's TeePublic shop today and get ready to shine this Independence Day. Links in the show notes or visit ZJZDesigns.com and check out all the great designs. New designs come up often. ZJZDesigns.com.
Welcome, everyone, to the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast. You can find me across all of social media at Barrett Gruber. If you want to participate in the show, you can chat with us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. You can find links at the top of our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. Please follow and subscribe wherever it is you are listening. We're going to get started here. New episode of the Awakening podcast with Heather and Tamara is out today. You can check that out anywhere you get podcasts or head over to bigmediallc.com for links. I forgot to mention this on Monday's episode, but I will say it here. As well, the All About Nothing podcast dropped an episode this week with an interview with our friend of the pod, Matt Villartabo. We get to talk about his health crisis, his impeding move to Maryland, and the state of South Carolina politics. You can visit theallaboutnothing.com for links, or you can check the show notes here in this episode. Also, new episode of the All About Nothing podcast drops on Monday. My guest is Denny LeVay. He is a candidate for the Republican nomination for Senate in Idaho. I haven't recorded it yet, but it should be a good one as we differ on a lot of things and opinions and things like that. But I think, podcast listener, you will be surprised on how much we actually agree on with each other. That episode will drop on Monday. So make sure to check that out. So we've got a lot to get to tonight, including the fact that the former president is our current president is currently seeking to turn the entire Middle East into a giant glowing parking lot while simultaneously trying to sell freedom steaks out the back of a Cybertruck. But first, for more on the man who spent the last decade transforming from America's mayor into a guy who looks like he's slowly being digested by his own suit, it's time for what I like to call a nothing or dive. Now, if you've been following the news, and if you haven't, I envy you. Please tell me what it's like to feel the sun. You know that Rudy Giuliani has had let's call it a complicated few years since 2024. He has been disbarred. He's been bankrupted. He's been pardoned by Trump. He's been given the Presidential Medal of Freedom for some reason, and was most recently seen in a New Hampshire car crash that I assume happened because he tried to use a bottle of Chianti for GPS. Over the weekend, we did get some details on something actually serious. Rudy Giuliani is currently in a Florida hospital in a critical condition, but stable condition. His spokesman, Ted Goodman, announced that Rudy is battling a severe case of pneumonia. And look, obviously, I wish him a recovery. I mean, mostly because I'm not done making fun of him, but the way his team is framing this it's very Rudy-like. His spokesman released a statement saying, Mayor Giuliani is a fighter who has faced every challenge in his life with unwavering strength. A fighter. Rudy. I mean, I guess if the challenge is how many times I can leak black liquid from my sideburns during a press conference between a landscaping company next to a dildo shop, then yeah, maybe he's Muhammad Ali. But it gets weirder. His team is linking his current respiratory issues to 9/11. They said, and I quote, on September 11th, Mayor Giuliani ran towards the towers to help those in need, which later led to a diagnosis of restrictive airway disease. Now, let me be clear. 9/11 lung issues are very real. They're very tragic. It's a very tragic thing for thousands of first responders. But Rudy has spent the last 25 years using 9/11 as a universal get-out-of-jail-free card. He uses it for everything. I'm going to do my best impression of Rudy Giuliani here, and it's not going to work out, but just bear with me. I can't pay $148 million in defamation judgment to election workers because of 9/11. My bank account has restrictive airway disease. I didn't lose my law license. The license simply collapsed in a controlled demolition of my own dignity. Never forget. Give me a scotch. Look, we actually have video on the internet of Rudy just a few days ago on his nightly show, America's Mayor Live, which everyone should watch, at least for the entertainment value. And I assume is being broadcast exclusively to 3 guys in a basement and a very confused parrot. He was very hoarse, he was coughing, and he told the audience his voice was under the weather. You can see it when you watch it. Just go look for it. He's sitting in front of a green screen that looks like he's in a library, even though we all know that Rudy hasn't been near a book since he tried to use a Bible to hide a flask. He's coughing so hard you can almost see the subpoenaed emails flying out of his lungs. And of course, Donald Trump has to weigh in. He weighed in on Truth Social. Trump wrote, "And remember this is in 2026." And Donald Trump still types like a toddler who's just discovered the caps lock key. Our fabulous Rudy Giuliani, a true warrior and the best mayor in the history of New York by far, is in critical condition. What a tragedy. He was treated so badly by the radical left lunatics. He was right about everything. The yelling is the caps locks. Excuse me. It's hard to talk like that. I'd have dementia too. He was right about everything. Really? Was he right when he told a judge in Pennsylvania that the word opacity probably means you can see through it? Because that's not what it means. That's like saying critical condition means I'm currently winning a marathon. You know what? Okay. Critical but stable. That is a perfect metaphor for Rudy's entire post-2016 career. His reputation was in critical condition, but his ability to find a microphone was stable. His finances were in critical condition, but his hair dye budget was stable. The report says he was on a mechanical ventilator, but now is breathing on his own, which is good. It's the first time in a decade Rudy has had oxygen in his system that wasn't 40% cigar and 60% desperation. But you have to take a step back and look at the trajectory here. In 2001, he was America's mayor. In 2026, he is an 81-year-old man in a Florida hospital who was recently pardoned for trying to overthrow the government and is currently being sued by a company that makes voting machines because he claimed they were part of a communist conspiracy involving the ghost of Hugo Chavez. It's like if the hero of an inspirational movie suddenly decided in the final 10 minutes to become a recurring character on The Munsters. His spokesman said the mayor believes in the power of prayer. And honestly, at this point, Rudy, prayer is probably all you've got left. Because the courts took your money, the Bar Association took your license, and the bank took your World Series rings. You're down to the big guy in the sky, and he's probably looking down going, wait, is this the guy who did the Borat movie? Yeah, I'm busy. Lord, it's me, Rudy. Remember 9/11? I'm a fighter. I once held a legal briefing between a crematorium and a Fantasy Island adult bookstore. That has to count for something. And in the afterlife, is there wine in heaven? Or at least a very high-end catering hall with questionable ventilation? Honestly, I do wish Rudy a speedy recovery, if only so he can finally explain why he thought he could pay off a $148 million debt with unspecified compensation and had promised to stop talking. Because honestly, Rudy not talking is the biggest miracle we've seen in years. So that was my nothing or dive for this episode. So to get into some of the news that is going on, and this is sort of a sad one. Today it was reported that media tycoon and cable news network CNN founder Ted Turner died at the age of 87, with his death reported by CNN citing a Turner Enterprises news release. Turner revolutionized the industry by launching the first 24-hour news channel in 1980, building Turner Broadcasting Systems, Inc. into a behemoth with the superstation concept and channels like TBS. I grew up watching the Braves playing on TBS, and the Braves were broadcast nationally. I think that's part of the reason that they have such a huge fan base across the entire country, is because they were on TBS. So it's kind of a big deal. Ted Turner was just, he was beyond media. He purchased the Atlanta Braves, and then he acquired MGM UA Entertainment, gaining a library of more than 4,000 movies while donating $1 billion to the United Nations. In 2018, Turner announced a diagnosis of Lewy body dementia, describing it as a mild case of Alzheimer's following his 2001 divorce from Oscar winner actor Jane Fonda. Known as well as a self-described do-gooder, Turner published his autobiography, Call Me Ted, in 2008, famously stating, "I say what comes to my mind." So again, Ted Turner, dead today at 87 years old. I think that is pretty notable in the grand scheme of media. I mean, just unbelievable loss. But honestly, at the same time, he was 87. I mean, if Bill were here, he'd probably ask me if I was going to shed any tears for the loss of Ted Turner, and the answer is no. But at the same time, I certainly recognize how important Ted Turner was. I never, in my time in news and radio, I never worked for CNN. I did do things like remotes and such at the CNN Center in Atlanta. When we go to Braves games or Falcons games or things like that, there was usually a stop at the CNN Center because they had a food court and the food wasn't expensive. So, we do that. Like I said, not going to shed a tear for the loss of Ted Turner. He is not in my mind Robert Duvall or any of the other losses that we've had that I've had an emotional response to. So, we move on. Also in the news, an American fighter jet shot out the rudder of an Iranian oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman as it attempted to breach the U.S. blockade, the American military stated. This is on the heels of Donald Trump recently saying that, we're on the verge of peace, even though it's all sort of based purely on what it is that Iran is going to wind up deciding on as far as the peace agreements. It sounds like more and more each day that Iran is toying with President Trump, unless he's just full of shit. And that, I'm not going to rule that out. It is entirely possible that Donald Trump is just feeding us a narrative that is completely inaccurate, that he is continuing to give us this sense of Iran playing, in this whole peace potential. And the likelihood is it's not true. The likelihood is that we are in this ongoing back and forth with a country that has no respect for Donald Trump, because, I mean, I think some of the stuff that they put out, while as an American, I should feel offended by their Lego cartoons that are being accompanied with music and rap music and things like that, but they're making fun of Pete Hegseth. They're making fun of Donald Trump. They're making fun of J.D. Vance. They're picking on RFK Jr. Like, I get that it's all AI, but it's pretty entertaining. And as an American, I should be offended by the fact that Iran is pushing propaganda that is entertaining me. But I'm kind of here for it. It's entertaining. To get back to this, President Donald Trump announced Tuesday that he was pausing Project Freedom, which, by the way, Project Freedom is it's sort of a procedures of the U.S. military in an effort to try and push U.S. commerce through the Strait of Hormuz in a safe shipping lane. That we're stopping that because there is this potential peace deal that we have on the table with Iran. Is it real? I don't know. I don't suspect that it is. Hundreds of merchant ships remain bottled up in the Persian Gulf, with the straits shut down costing around $60 million per week, while spot price of Brent crude oil eased to around $100 a barrel today. The United States and Iran appear closer to an agreement ending the war, though Trump warned that if Tehran does not agree to terms, the bombing starts at a much higher intensity. Now, there are reports that, and I find this interesting. There are people reporting out of the Pentagon that the United States in that region is virtually out of military assets when it comes to missiles and things like that. And that's crazy to me, that the number of missiles and drones and whatnot that we have used over the course of the last now 10, 11 weeks. I don't know how many weeks it is exactly, but the number that we've used over the course of that period is twice what we produce in a year, which almost makes me think, are we, it's kind of like me when I play Call of Duty. When I play Call of Duty, I'm just holding the trigger down and firing just blindly at everything. And it makes me feel like that's kind of what we're doing. Like our military, because there is no strategic plan in place to get out of this war, I feel like that probably translates into exactly how it is that we're running this war, and that we're just firing missiles. That's what it feels like when you hear reports that the United States military in the region is on the verge of potentially running out of military assets or ammunition in this fight. It's a little alarming, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi expressed his country was deeply distressed by the conflict as Tehran and Washington continue negotiations ahead of Trump's planned summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing next week. I don't know. I don't. Again, I see how it's affecting me and friends and family, in that the cost of gas. I didn't take a picture of it yesterday when I was driving past, but the Murphy's gas station, and that's not a plug, but the Murphy's gas station that I normally get gas from, they were at $4.17 a gallon yesterday. A week ago, they were at $3.69. Now, as a Walmart Plus subscriber, I do get 10 cents off every gallon. So $4.17 is $4.07. $3.69 is $3.59. But in a week, it jumped from $3.69 to $4.17, respectively. And I am there's a guy that I think people should follow called Mr. Global, who talks about, because of his experience in the oil industry, he talks about how the oil industry is actually being impacted and not being really reported by the mainstream media, in that what we are experiencing now here in the United States has less to do with the impact of the actual fighting that's going on in the Middle East, and more of our global sell-off of gasoline and natural gas to other countries from the United States. That we have oil tankers that are now picking up gasoline and picking up natural gas and taking them to Europe, because the cost, the price of gas and natural gas in Europe is higher than it is here in the United States. We may be paying $4.17 a gallon, but they may be paying $7.15 a liter. So you do the math on that between gallons and liters. But the gas companies have the potential of making more money by selling their fuel in Europe than selling it here in the United States. Same thing happened in 2022. And when we were in the coming out of COVID, our country was, our oil and gas companies were selling off their fuels to other parts of the world. And it drove the price of fuel here in the United States up. And in some places, we saw gas reach $5 a gallon. But at the rate that the gas is being sold off and the fuel is being sold off from here in the United States to other parts of the world now is 10 times as quick. And the likelihood is that within the next couple months, we may see $6, $7 a gallon nationally. That is the potential. And how quickly we recover from that, I don't think anybody has any idea on that. I mean, the potential is that it may take 2 or 3 years to come down. We could likely, and the thing that's going to piss me off the most is when we get to the point that we get towards the end of a fiscal quarter. And at the end of that fiscal quarter, these corporations that sell fuel are going to show that they still have billions of dollars in profits. And those billions of dollars in profit do nothing but just say to us as consumers that we are nothing but expendable to these corporations. And we don't have anyone in legislature or in the executive branch that is doing anything to stop these corporations from just doing what they're doing. Like, it's insane to me that there are no consumer protections at any step in this process that are looking out for us as consumers. We used to have consumer protections up until 2017. Those are gone. Sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. And it's just insane to me that this is where we're at. It's insane to me. Excuse me. I can't, in my mind, believe that there aren't people on the right that are being affected by these inflationary practices. I don't know if that's a word. Seems like it should be. But I can't believe that there's not anyone on the right that isn't being affected by this and not saying how it's affecting them. Because I can't believe that they're just looking at this and being like, we're finally owning the libs, They're paying $6 a gallon for gas and, but we are too. But it's worth it because we're owning the libs. It's just insane to me. I can't think of anything that happens, and I get it. I'm a progressive, but I can't think of anything that the Democrats do or that leftists do that we look at as being proud of if it has a negative impact on someone on the right. Like I can't think of a single thing, Obamacare. Oh, now, 30 million people have the availability of affordable insurance. Oh, wait, here comes Trump. Let's take that away. What else? The CHIPS Act. CHIPS Act brought jobs. It brought manufacturing of computer chips back to the United States. I don't see how that potentially had a negative impact on Republicans. I'm trying to think of the Infrastructure Act that came about during Biden's presidency. I can't think of that as having a negative impact on Republicans, where Democrats were like, "Oh, we're really sticking it to them." It doesn't make any sense. The Infrastructure Act brought broadband high-speed internet access and is still working its way out, but across the country to rural areas where the internet wasn't necessarily available unless you used potentially Starlink satellites. Again, not a plug. It's just insane to me. The mentality that all of this is worth it to have Donald Trump as president, who, again, I said this on Monday, who is clearly departing this life at an alarming rate, that he is in a state of cognitive decline that can only be diagnosed as frontal temporal dementia. Like, that's the only thing you could potentially diagnose it as. And he's exiting. I don't know what it is that they're propping him up with. I don't know what it is they're keeping him alive with, but it's clearly something. Excuse me. Last thing I wanted to talk about real quick. If you were planning on becoming an employee of Immigration and Custom Enforcement and wanted to go through their shortened training program, that apparently is coming to an end. Today, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement announced plans to scrap the controversial accelerated training program implemented last year. And they're going to be returning to the longer, more traditional instruction period for new deportation officers. So starting on July 1st, the agency will revert to a 72-day instruction period at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Facility in Georgia. This replaces the condensed 42-day program, roughly half the original length, that was introduced to facilities to facilitate a massive hiring surge under the Trump administration. DHS officials stated the change is possible because the agency has successfully completed its goal of more than doubling the number of immigration officers to 22,000, with the immediate pressure to staff up subsiding. The focus is shifting back to long-term training quality. 72 days. 72 days. 42 days. To train someone in what is and what should be fundamentally a very intensive art of how it is that they should be handling immigration and customs enforcement. I am not certain that 42 days is enough, because we've seen the results. There've been multiple Americans that have been shot and killed here in the United States as a result of conflict or a situation that they have been involved in with ICE officers. We have seen tens of thousands of deportations of what are American citizens, and ICE admitting that these were mistakes, that they should not have been deported. ICE operates in a fictitious jurisdiction where they appear to be allowed to be judge, jury, and executioner, all in the same, all in the same, bubble, which isn't how it works in here in the United States. We have something called due process. Many of these individuals that are being deported that have turned out to be American citizens were not given any due process. That's it. It's insane to me. And if it were the left doing it, the right would be flipping out. But see, the left isn't going to do it. There's really only one party of that seems to have respect for law, and that is the party that didn't try to overthrow the government in 2021 at the Capitol. And you know who you are. All right. That's my time. They're giving me the red light. So I'm going to wrap it up. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, you can follow me at Barrett Gruber across all of the social medias. Thank you very much for liking and hitting that bell. If you can, give us a 5-star review and leave a comment. Until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself. The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media, LLC. Copyright 2026.